G'day, and welcome to my new video, which as you can see is again something a little different to what people have come to expect from this channel. Still, I want to take this opportunity to talk about something that I feel is quite interesting, and that is the continual growth of retro gaming. For while you would expect retro gaming to be a diminishing scene, it is in fact growing at an extremely fast rate. I mean, you would expect the pool of retro gamers, as in people who were alive at the time these games came out, to be at best an unchanging number. But in reality, it is a slowly diminishing one, as people lose interest, have families, or die even, whatever. But this is not the case. Retro gaming as a scene has never been larger, and we are gaining new followers all the time. Followers that love these old titles, I mean they just love them, but they were born 20 years after these games came out. Why is this? This is the question that interests me and what I'll be discussing in this video. I guess it's a video blog, I suppose, to use the vernacular. Anyway, before we go on, let's look at the two devices on the table. This is a Samsung Galaxy S2 and it's about 4 months old or so at the time of this video, and this is an Asus ePad transformer. Both of these devices run Android, though I am not certain, but I'm pretty confident that you can find an Apple alternative to the applications that I'll be demoing here. To try and keep this video entertaining, I'll be demoing various games on these devices while I talk, so you do not have to see a static screen. Anyway, there is basically 3 factors to take into consideration when wondering about the continual popularity of retro gaming. 1. The games are just awesome. I mean, come on. This doesn't need much discussion. The games are awesome, people play them, and they're hooked. I mean, end of story. 2. The use of emulators, which allow retro gaming to translate into the latest and greatest devices, exposing these old games to young generations that were in no way connected to this scene. As a retro gamer, I just cannot even begin to express my gratitude at the people who make these emulators. The emulation scene is a very dedicated, fan-based scene where it's very hard to thank these people personally because of the communal project environment that these are made from. But basically, if you are involved in making emulators, you have literally brought millions of people joy. I mean, it's a pretty awesome thing to do, and it is a perfect example of what open source software programming is all about. And 3, the development of new modern hardware. Now, this is a bit of an esoteric point, but I feel it is one of the most important reasons. Let's look at this phone, for example. This phone, compared to your desktop or console, is far from a powerful device. And what this means is that the current games that are being developed for these mobile platforms and are extremely popular at the moment are in fact very low end, and in most cases developed solely by the indie scene. What this has created is an atmosphere in gamers that hasn't really been seen outside the retro gaming community. And that is, gamers, modern gamers, as in young gamers, do not have the classic hang-ups about graphics and sound that was so important only a few years ago. We now have a platform in the phone, or another one in the pads, that are modern and hip and used by many people and many gamers, especially younger gamers, where the graphics and sound are just not important. We saw the first steps into this kind of new paradigm recently in XBLA and PSN with the reintroduction of classic arcade or early console type games, or gameplay and low graphics. Still, the effect I'm talking about here is even greater. For while most modern games for these platforms are made by small dev teams, the original classics were AAA titles of their day, meaning that many of the oldest games from the retro era now rival brand new titles for scope, graphics, design, sound, everything. I mean, these retro games are no longer a step down, they are actually equal, if not better, than modern games, giving us a strange state where non-retro gamers are suddenly much more interested in trying these old classics that we have known for years, simply because they are as good, if not better, than the games that are being developed right now. And this, of course, is because, as I said, the phone, for example, the Samsung Galaxy, even though it's low end, is actually far more powerful than the original PC hardware or Amiga hardware that was used to play these games in the first place, which means that they are perfect translations. The only problem is the interface through the touchscreen, which I'll get to later. But I mean, they're perfect copies. So the retro games themselves not only play on this new hardware, but they play perfectly on the hardware, and they are also the match, if not better, than current top rating games, which means that gamers who aren't even into the retro scene look at these games and just aren't repulsed by the graphics or the sound, which, as much as it might seem weird to us, actually happens to a lot of people. And there is another thing happening here as well. I mean, anybody who owns a pad realizes that they're kind of toys. I mean, they are not productivity devices. I mean, there are a growing number of productivity apps, and I'm sure it'll eventually turn into a more productive device. But they're really toys. I mean, these are designed for ease of use and to be fun to use, you know, for flicking through your photo album and showing them to your mum, or, you know, surfing the internet, checking your email, stuff like that. So games is a natural thing to run on these devices, and believe me, I was shocked as well when I first bought my pad and started playing on it. Games are just so fun to play, and, you know, just getting out of the computer room, getting out of the office, and just playing a game on your pad while lounging on your balcony drinking a bottle of wine or something, you know. This is something that pads excel at, and it is actually one of the reasons why my reviews have kind of slowed down. It's not because I've stopped playing retro games, but it's because I'm playing them on my bloody pad and I can't record the footage for you and make the videos. People are also actively searching at the moment for a use for these pads. People go online and they look, okay, I've got a pad, now what am I going to do with it? Did I really just spend $700 on a web browser? No. They go out and actively look for things, and it is one of the things they're finding is retro gaming. And we're not talking about the gaming community here. We're talking about such a large group of people that are not even actual gamers, that would never buy a console, would never buy a AAA, you know, like Deus Ex 3 or whatever. I mean, they'd never play a game like that. But they very well might pick up Angry Birds, for example, or they're actually finding retro games because they look at the graphics and the gameplay of Angry Birds and they think, wow, that's pretty good. I'm using Angry Birds because it's just so popular. I mean, everybody knows this game. But what we're finding is that retro games have superior graphics, they have superior gameplay, and they are, you know, superior sound. They are superior in many ways to almost all the games that you'll find on the markets. So again, this is opening up retro gaming to brand new audiences that aren't hardcore gamers, people who are into these new devices and searching for a use for that device. And one of the surprising uses is retro games. Okay, so let's have a look how DosBox works on this device here. And remember, of course, I'm running it on here as well, and it's exactly the same. I'll go more into DosBox on this device a bit later. Okay, so let's have a look at how DosBox works. Basically, it's much the same as ScummVM. You have an accelerated mouse that allows you to zip around the screen quickly, and on your phone you'll need to turn this down to get proper pixel hunting if the game requires it. But it is a relative mouse movement to the thumbs, just like in ScummVM. DosBox has the left click using the thumb, and that also works for double click. So you can just move by left clicking. And the way it handles its right click is by using the volume up and down, which in my case is up here. So I can left click actually by going volume up. Or I can right click by clicking volume down. And that's exactly the same way it works on the phone, obviously.
A six-pointed symbol seems to pulse with energy and comes loose in your hand.
Now, this might seem a little bit convoluted having the volume knobs, but it's actually really good. It allows you to do some more advanced mouse functions which are not capable at the moment of doing it in ScummVM. Remember, ScummVM is in beta. Like, for example, click and then drag. So I'm holding down the volume to continue the click down press, and then I can drag. And that is DosBox running this fancy game. Okay, so the way ScummVM works, the way it ports to these devices is, for a pad anyway, you hold it like this, okay? So these are your main controls, these thumbs. The back button, and this would be the back button on your phone, is basically escape. So you can use that to skip through in this particular game. So let's just see how this game works on this kind of device. Basically, we've got left thumb as a relative mouse movement, so I don't have to actually click where I want the mouse to be. I can click anywhere and it will drag the mouse relative. And of course I can do that with both thumbs, and just with, you know, using some of your alternative between the thumbs, you can get anywhere on the device very, very quickly. And in this particular game, it's one click to walk somewhere, and it's double click to interact. So, I mean, it's that simple. And double click is just tipping on the thing twice. Now, in this game, the way you look at things is by right clicking. And right clicking is one of the more complicated things that they've had to work out for touchpad devices. And the way ScummVM does it is very elegant. And that is just using the multi-touch feature, which means if I, let's say if I go over to this dragon, I hold down with my left and I just click with my right. And because it registers 2 touches, it comes out as a right click.
It's the shape fraught with shapeness. It must be a plot element. Otherwise there'd be a better label.
Okay, so that's the way ScummVM works. But let's have a look at DosBox running a different kind of game, or a game which you wouldn't expect would be possible to play on these devices. So this time I'm going to call up Quest for Glory 2. Now, as you know, Quest for Glory 2... Oh shit, I closed it by accident. Okay. So let's just make that full screen. Now, to run Quest for Glory 2 properly, we are actually going to use another Android application called Game Keyboard, which is like this. And you can there's a lot of options for setting up Game Keyboard. We're just going to come down. Start new hero. Okay, so as you can see here, the way I've set up the game keypad... Oh, sorry, I'm bumping the mic. The way I set up the game keypad is I've got up, down, left, right is for movement. LB I've got set to escape. RB I've got set to enter. And then I have a shortcut for tell about, ask about, and look at, as well as C brings up the map, which I haven't bought yet because it's just the start of the game. B gets my statistics, pressing escape to get rid of that, and A is my inventory. And of course you've got the, keep swiping too far, you've got the keypad right here, or you can just hold down the back and switch to the keypad that way. And yeah, and you can completely play this game even though it is a vastly different game than you would expect to be able to play. So let's have a look at some more interesting games which you can play on these devices, but it's actually, in my opinion, quite strange that you can play them. And one of the games that works great on these modern devices is text adventure games, believe it or not. Now, I recently played the Zork games, and to use that I use an application called Twisty, which is an excellent little reader for Z machine interpreters. Now, Z machine interpreters is the interpreter that runs inside Infocom games, which are pretty much the best games you can possibly get. So let's go open file, and I've got here I've got Planetfall, Zork 1 to 3, and I've got Leather Goddesses of Phobos. So let's load up Leather Goddesses, if I can speak correctly. And there you go. I mean, this is the game. This is how it works. So you just sit there, you type, and you can just you know, play it just like you would, you know, just sending text messages. It's an absolutely perfect way to play these games, and it's completely enjoyable and fun. So this brings to life all sorts of old games which you'd never, that are even not played retro style now on PCs, but they are getting played on these devices which people are already used to using texting. Okay, so let's get out of here, and I'll just load up DOSBox again, because there's a lot of games which will not run on your on a Z interpreter, a lot of text games. And as you can see, DOSBox does take in screen orientation into account. So you can see where I'm going with this. Now I think I've got this installed. Leather, Bound, Goddess, Phobos. And here you go. And you can play this exactly the same way. And this is running off the PC version, not the Z machine version of this game. So it depends just which way you like to play it. I mean, if you do it like this, it's no good. But like this, it just works perfectly for playing text adventure games, which is something that absolutely shocked me when I first started to look at retro gaming on these new modern devices. Okay, so that's about it for this video. I hope through the editing process it's actually become something that's worth watching, because like I said, I'm not an actor. It's been really hard for me to do all this in one kind of take. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.